My overall thoughts on EU5. There's obviously issues. There's plenty of issues, but that was to be expected. I think the biggest thing for me is like the performance stuff. It is a chunky game, and it runs not that smoothly, but that will inevitably get fixed over time. Is it going to have the most depth? Is it going to have as much depth as EU4 does after literally 10 plus years of development? Of course not. But it's definitely starting somewhere. You got to start somewhere, and I think it's fine for the most part. I mean, I think that it's a little bit controversial, kind of automating things, being able to automate so much. I mean, it's weird because Paradox has got to find a better balance, and they know this, but they've needed to find a better balance for a long time between like satisfying the hardcore fan base versus getting more people in and just making it simpler to jump in, especially nowadays where you have a lot of kids playing games very similar to Paradox games. So you got to be able to get to a level where, it's a little bit easier for the casual fan to jump in. Something where, the previous generation of Paradox games, just EU4 in general, that game, when you got your first 100 hours, you were just barely scratching the surface. And the biggest thing that Paradox has been trying to do, and you can kind of see it with CK3, I noticed, is they needed to make it easier for the casuals to jump in. You wanna satisfy the mouth breathers out there, which I'm one of them, I guess, where we're just, because I have like over 1,000 hours in EU4, and that doesn't even, I think actually, I'm not even sure about that, but actually playing the game, I had a considerable hundreds of hours. They say like, actually, I know a couple of people say like you need like 1,000 hours of EU4 before you can even begin to scratch the surface, but a couple hundred hours at least into actually playing it. And that's the big balance. You got to be able to do that. And this is a good time to really, here's the thing with the life cycle of Paradox games, the ultimate like hardcore fan base is going to be disappointed every single time on launch. That's just a fact. However, what's really, really important at these like launches, these early launches, is to get as many new people in as possible, because this is the point in the game's life cycle where it's going to be the absolute simplest. If you don't learn it right now, let me tell you, it's only going to get harder and harder and harder for everyone else. I mean, that's literally how I learned EU4. I started playing EU4 like maybe 8 months to a year after it was released. So it really didn't have that much new developments. There was a couple of patches, but it really was still really barren. And it didn't have the years worth of content and patches and DLC added to it, which was kind of funny because I didn't play it for so long. The game changed so much that, I kind of lost it again. But that's the thing. You got to get people into the framework right now and then hope that they stay within it every year. You got to let them continue to work that Paradox muscle. Luckily, that's kind of a thing that I've noticed that doesn't really go away. I mean, I definitely have lost a lot of my Paradox knowledge when it comes to actually playing those games, but the ultimate layout, it's weird how much of it is still kind of like riding a bike. It's still kind of all there where, you got to dust off some cobwebs a little bit, but, I can jump back into it. I can kind of jump back in. I'm not going to be great. I'm definitely not going to be great, but it's going to be a start. So even though maybe the huge lovers of these games aren't going to be super satisfied on the day one release, when the game is super vanilla like this, it's going to be good to introduce new fans. And whether the fan base likes it or not, Paradox needs new fans. I think we can all benefit by expanding the genre, by getting more people involved. So making the game a little bit more streamlined for, different people to enter in is very, very important. I think Paradox has done a very good job already. First of all, the number of like Chinese mods I see in the Hearts of Iron 4 workshop and the EU4 workshop means that for sure these games have expanded to a whole new audience. It's pretty smart to go over and get a whole new fan base from China. But hopefully we can get that to, because I didn't even consider that, to be quite honest. I thought you'd have to bring down the bar to a lower entry where you can get like, 8-year-olds to play, that's too young. That's actually way too young. Maybe like 12 is the absolute youngest you can go. I'm sure there's definitely 13-year-olds that play Hoi 4. But if you bring them more in, but China was a good way to go about it. Japan, anything like that. I see mostly mods from China, but I think this is going to be a good thing. I mean, it's good foundation. The thing is, so this is going to be interesting because Paradox has a mixed track record now. Let's be real. Because, we still have Imperator Rome that kind of looms over the surface of everything. That is Paradox kind of failed strategy game. The one strategy game that they have just dropped. Surprisingly enough, they actually just dropped a whole iteration of their like a whole, I don't even know how you describe it, a whole ingredient of their overarching dish between Crusader Kings and EU4, and I'm sure they thought that was going to be a new franchise, Imperator Rome. So that failed. I feel like, is it just me? I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like Victoria 3 kind of is like, meh. Whenever I look at the current concurrent player numbers, it's like, meh, which I think they kind of knew. Let's be real. Everyone wanted Victoria 3. It was a big meme for years there. It felt like I don't know, it wasn't 10 years, but probably close. But this is why they didn't really want to push it. It's really apparent now why they didn't really want a Victoria 3, because they knew it wasn't going to be like this massive game. The hardcore fan base is going to love it, but in order to keep that team of employees continuing to upgrade that game, continuing to bring in new expansions and things like that costs money. And if it doesn't have a big player base constantly playing it, it's going to be expensive. That stuff's going to be expensive. So I feel like Victoria 3's, there's literally a DLC coming out very soon. I'm not saying it's like failed or anything, but I just feel like it's like, meh. It doesn't do great in its concurrent players. Crusader Kings 3, big plus, big thumbs up. Victoria 3, meh. I would say it's a meh. That's a meh to me. I'm sure the fan base loves it, though. If you love that game, then you really love it. And then Imperator Rome was a bad, complete dumpster fire. Well, it's weird when apparently they launched the last expansion in the patch. It was actually pretty good, but they no longer support it anymore, so it doesn't really matter. So we have a mixed bag here in the last couple of releases for Paradox. Where does the EU5 stand? To be quite honest, I think as long as they continue to update it, I don't think it can fail. The thing is, like, here's my fear. My fear is, like, there's a big difference between CK2 and CK3. For me, it's hard to, and I know this is, for the lovers of Crusader Kings 2 out there, they're going to be like, how dare you say that? But for me, I can't even deal with CK2 anymore. It's just too old, feels too dated, doesn't feel as good. It just, I don't know. That's just me, though. I never really got into Crusader Kings 2. Crusader Kings 3, I did start playing that, like, right at release. So that I can't really go back, and it's just kind of the updatedness of the whole thing. I mean, that's kind of what these strategy games, their whole strategy is that it's like, it's just updated, and it's going to be too hard to go back to the old games. They're going to make too many life improvements where it's like pulling nails to have to go back to a previous installment, because that's not being updated anymore. And hey, this one's got nicer graphics, and hey, well, this one you have like faces. I just wonder if EU5 has enough here. I really wonder if EU5 is going to have enough to make people no longer want to deal with EU4 anymore. Obviously, the first year is going to be the point where it's like, yeah, people can definitely still play both. It's going to be the life cycle into the future. Obviously, this is future-proofed. Europa Universalis 5 is planned. They're planning to work on this game, I'm sure, for years to come. And that's when you're really going to see the huge differences between EU4 and EU5. And maybe in like the year 2027 or 2028, 2 to 3 years from now, the player base might find themselves making it harder and harder to go back to EU4. And it's just like, wow, EU5 is so nice. It's got this, and it's got that, and it's got this, and I like this part, and yada, yada. So we'll see. It's not clear to me, to be honest, if it's got that yet. It feels like EU4. It feels like there's some elements of Victoria in there. It feels like there's some elements of Crusader Kings in there. It's still too early. The AI sucks. If you watched my Drew video just a big old, yeah, the AI sucks, but geez, that's so normal. That does not matter at all. But we'll see what the mods do. I mean, one thing that I really love about Paradox is they launch the workshop at the same time. There's games that don't launch the workshop at the same time. I'm looking at you, I'm looking at you, Civilization. I hate that so freaking much. I hate that so much. Does Civilization 7 even have a workshop yet? Holy crap, that's insane if they don't have a workshop at this point. But they never launch with the work. Dude, modders, save your game. I don't mean to make this a rant on Firaxis, but there's other games too that launch without the workshop. And it's like, I mean, I know there's other ways to mod without the workshop, but the workshop is so crucial. Work with Steam. Get the workshop implemented so day one, bam, people can start doing it. Because it's just kind of more tedious and annoying. It's harder for me to go out of my way to work with mods outside of the Steam Workshop. It's so easy just to click on that and then boom, load it up and it's right there. So that's huge for Paradox. I think that's fantastic. We'll see. Now, there's always a spike when a game comes out. There's always a big spike, but what you got to look at is how much of those players does it retain in the coming months? Does it retain 20% of the day 1 or day 2 or day 3 player base? It's got to, I would say somewhere around 20% is pretty good, because let's say EU5 gets about 100,000 players this first opening weekend. If it retains 20%, which I don't think it will, that's a lot, actually. If it still has about 20,000 players in a month or two, that's kind of crazy. I think it'll more than likely dip to about 10,000, and then it'll have small spikes every update and every expansion. That's kind of what it tends to be. But I do need to do an updated look at some of the Paradox videos out there on YouTube that shows like all of their games with all of their concurrent players, and it shows every single month, every single year. It's so fun to see the rise and fall of different Paradox games. Anyways, I can't do a video about EU5 without talking about the next game that Paradox is gonna do. We know they're making Hearts of Iron 5. They got to be working on it. That's the next one, and I gotta say, the one game that I'd be more excited for rather than EU5 is Paradox's Hearts of Iron 5. My goodness. That's going to be a crazy one. I hope I'm still around to be still making videos by the time that comes, because we might be a year or two away. That is going to be quite the game. It's just, it's World War II. So ultimately that's going to draw on probably the biggest normie fan base you can really ask for